can come closer. There's a couple of chairs here to sit down. But come on in. We have a lot to celebrate and want to get started here. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Diane Krippus with DCNR's Bureau of Recreation and Conservation, and I want to welcome you here this afternoon on this beautiful fall day in the city of Reading, and thank all of you for coming and enjoying the outdoors, enjoying this beautiful park here. Want to recognize Senator Schwenk, who will be speaking later, Mayor Moran from the city of Reading, who will be joining us, Representative Calderon's office, as well as Representative Mark Marazzi's office, and our members of our Technical Advisory Committee, Frank McGuire, Todd Pride, who will be joining us. Who else from the Technical Advisory Committee? Raise your hand. DCNR staff, raise your hands. Thank you for coming today. Reading City Council members, raise your hands. Thank you. So I appreciate all of you joining us here today for a two-for event. So we have two big announcements that we're going to be making, and I'm going to turn this over to Secretary Dunn. I've had the privilege of working with Secretary Dunn for over 25 years in many capacities, and she is a real champion of recreation and conservation. She's a real champion of local parks and recreation, close to home recreation, and she has been a real advocate to ensure that Pennsylvania state parks and our forests remain open during the pandemic. So she was appointed by Governor Wolf 6 years ago as Secretary of DCNR. And so Secretary Dunn, our Secretary Cindy Adams Dunn, come join us.
So bizarrely, I'm looking forward to speaking, so I can just take this off for a minute. Usually, anyone who speaks at big events, there's a mixed feeling of dread or whatever to come up and speak, and this puts it on the balance of it's great to be up here, especially on this little Mount Reading with a great breeze and a great view. Thanks to all of you for coming. I've been looking forward to being in Reading since March. I talked to Senator Schwenk about coming to see in person some of the parks, some of the great work. She talks about Mayor Eddie Moran and the great work he's done. Of course, we all know Daphne. Daphne's one of these people that only needs a first name. She's really well known in the recreation world across Pennsylvania, not just locally. And we hear about Daphne's good work through the many awards she brings to the city of Reading for your good recreation work across the whole city. And especially wonderful for me is to see my good friend Pedro Cortez, Managing Director of the city of Reading. I've gotten to know Pedro quite well and have really missed him, and it's wonderful to see you again and catch up with you. Anyway, it's a big day here in Pennsylvania. Today we're announcing the release of the Pennsylvania Statewide Recreation Plan. And just to give you a little bit of background on why it's particularly special and why it means even more than it would mean on the every 5-year rotation that it takes place. We started with our Technical Advisory Committee, which is comprised of 40 very dedicated people who spent over a year meeting, working, engaging with the public. In fact, engaged with 12,000 members of the public in various ways, electronically, face-to-face, meetings, conferences, advisory committees, and got input on the plan, a way forward for Pennsylvania. Interestingly, this is called Recreation for All. The recommendations were finalized and developed before COVID, before the latest round of issues highlighting issues of racial injustice that have really plagued our country for 4 centuries. And yet it captures the point that we're in. It captures the essentialness of outdoor recreation for all people. It's called Recreation for All because it highlights the need to bring recreation physically close to all people and make it accessible and welcoming to all people. We don't all get to experience recreation in the outdoors the same way in Pennsylvania. Yet our Constitution requires public agents like myself to provide for clean water, pure air, and access to the natural environment equally to all Pennsylvanians. In the past people in my role, past secretaries, past staff of the DCNR and its predecessor agencies tried to, through a number of ways, to provide a state park within 25 miles of every Pennsylvania, to fund a network of trails across Pennsylvania. That's not enough. In today's world, we need recreation close to home. The goal laid out in this plan, and I really credit Diane Krippis, Lauren Imgren, who's not here, and Gretchen Leslie, who's here, is to provide recreation within 10 minutes of every Pennsylvanian. We know in people's busy lives, they need to be able to get to an outdoor space after work, after school, a short time they may have on a weekend. And so this plan aspires to providing that. But yet it's more than the physicality. It's creating welcoming spaces and programs that pull people in and make them feel safe and welcome, and get to enjoy the outdoor recreation we have. Thankfully, from the beginning of the COVID pandemic, Governor Wolf and Dr. Levine, our Health Secretary, recognized outdoor recreation as essential. In fact, even at the stay-at-home order, if you look back in the stay-at-home order from March, it says exceptions to leave your home would be secure food, secure prescription drugs, or walk outdoors. The governor's a walker himself. Dr. Levine is a regular walker. Understood the importance of walking for health and wellness, and really to give people an outlet, and it can be done safely. And that was recognized and really laid out very clearly for how to do that safely. Also recognizes the racial inequality of open space. And yet one of the most democratizing features in our landscape in Pennsylvania is public lands of all kinds, public lands like this park, public lands like state forests and state parks. And yet we've got to do better to really make them welcoming to all. So again, formally unveiling this plan today. It's a 5-year plan. It's required by the National Park Service to make us eligible for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. If you're paying attention to the news there, it's bigger and better and permanently funded. So that's excellent news, and Pennsylvania has more than done its part. Gretchen Leslie is the author of this plan. Diane Krippis led the work group and the TAC that came up with it. We have TAC members here. You'll be meeting Todd Pride. Many TAC members here have raised their hands. They work tirelessly to deliver a plan that's real and that will make a lasting difference for Pennsylvania. So it's an exciting day for us and a wonderful time to really celebrate the findings. So just some of the priorities. I won't go into the details. We're hoping people take this and read it because implementation of this plan is not just a DCNR thing. It's local governments, it's nonprofit partners, it's providers of local parks, trails, schools, many others that have to really reach in and make this real. Our sister agencies, we had many sister agencies at the table that helped develop it and are committed to making it real in their own way. Priorities are health and wellness, and you'll be hearing from Dr. Suk a little bit about that. Recreation for all, the issue I'm talking about, accessibility and justice. Sustainable systems as we get more and more pressure on the natural resources, and pressures like climate change, pressures like being loved to death. We've got to figure out how to do that well so that the same natural amenities are there for the next generation. Funding of these recreational assets and the economic development they provide their communities, and also technology. We've got this love-hate thing with technology. Technology can be used to bring outdoors to people if we do it right. So there's a lot in here on all those factors. Reading is particularly special and a wonderful place to do this. Mayor Moran has been a committed advocate for accessibility in parks, and he had formed a recreation commission here, so it's just very fitting that we do this in Reading. We were determined to do it in Reading. Senator Swank told us we got to do it in Reading, and we agree. So it's just a great place to unveil this plan. And stay tuned here. We'll be back up to talk about a few other things after our MC tells us what's next.
Thank you, Secretary Dunn. Yeah, so let me emphasize, this is Pennsylvania's plan. It's not DCNR's plan, it's not Gretchen's plan or Diane's plan. It is Pennsylvania's plan, and we challenge everybody here today to help us implement the plan as we move forward here. So I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Michael Zook. I think he has traveled the furthest here today. He asked me, did I ever travel from Danville to Reading? I'm sure there's not a whole lot of folks that have ever traveled from Danville to Reading. But Dr. Zook is the chair of Geisinger's Muscular Skeletal Institute and professor of orthopedic surgery at the Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. Dr. Zook has offered to be an advisor to the plan to help us better connect with healthcare providers and make that strong connection between the outdoors and mental and physical health. So Dr. Zook, welcome to our event here today. Thank you so much for driving many miles to get here.
Thank you so much, Diana, for that introduction, and Secretary Adams Dunn and Mr. Mayor from, thank you for the invitation to come and join you as well. You know, it's a little strange to have a physician speaking at an announcement for a public lands and recreation state plan. And I wanted to give you just a brief background on why that might be, and also add to the congratulations of including a very critical priority for the state of Pennsylvania, which includes health and wellness. I think most of you would agree that actually having this event outside feels better than having it inside. And I think you would certainly agree in times of pandemic, this feels like a more natural and more suitable thing to do. It's capturing those feelings of being outside that I think add to what we consider to be health and wellness for our individual health that is oftentimes overlooked or oftentimes taken for granted. So by way of background, I've been involved in the space of health and wellness and its relationship to outdoors and outdoor recreation for over 20 years, starting from some time in Washington, D.C., where I spent time at the U.S. Department of the Interior and became the senior advisor for health and recreation almost 2 decades ago, at a time where really the idea was, what would happen if a doctor gave you a prescription to go outside rather than go to a gym and sweat and work out on a machine? And this concept really began to take a lot of traction because we know that the things that we do outside on outdoor public space really add to the quality of life that we have as individuals. Not only your musculoskeletal health, but your mental well-being. We have lots of growing evidence today that demonstrates that just by being outside or doing physical activity outside can actually enhance your own individual health. So how do we take those ideas and use the health professions as advocates for health and link to a partner that really has been untapped, and that is in our colleagues and our partners in outdoor resource and natural conservation. And so I'm really pleased to be part of this today in order to share with you that in the state of Pennsylvania, we're about to do something really big. And I'm really happy to be part of this organization, these groups, to develop some ideas on how the health professions, advocating for individual care, and our outdoor public space partners can get together to then advocate and advance the world of individual health. Imagine if you were invited to, on a weekend day or a weekday, to go take a walk in a trail, but it was your physician who said, come join me, rather than a physician who says, go join the gym. And these concepts are encompassed in some programs like Walk with the Doc. And one of the things that we'd like to do coming up in the summer when the pandemic either settles or where we have other opportunities to announce a statewide initiative where physicians from all over the state will invite their patients to walk with them on a natural space or an outdoor trail. I want to congratulate the Secretary for helping us envision this, and I think you'll be seeing some new announcements coming out about this soon. But again, congratulations for the new announcement on the new recreation and the new plan. And I'm really pleased to be part of it as an individual, but also on behalf of physicians everywhere to help get our patients healthy with new partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zook, and thank you, Geisinger Medical Center. We look forward to our partnership with the health community and with Geisinger on this very, very important effort. And look for a May of 2021 when we will try to do as many Walk with the Docs from one end of Pennsylvania to the other, and you have the opportunity to enjoy Pennsylvania's trails in open spaces. So at this point in time, I'd like to bring Todd Pride up to the microphone. Todd is one of our leading members of the 40-member Technical Advisory Committee that supported the development of the plan. He is the Managing Director of the Land Conservancy of Southern Chester County and a lead coach for the Mid-Atlantic Youth Anglers and Outdoor Partners. So thank you, Todd, for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Diane, thank you, and I'm glad to be able to take this mask off as it's tickling my nose that is a little larger than most. Also want to thank Secretary Dunn and her team at DCNR for inviting me to speak. And when I got the invite from Lauren, I don't think Lauren or Diane or Gretchen knew that for many years I worked with the Baptist minister. So I'm just warning you that I may be speaking a little bit longer than I should be. But also I want to recognize and thank Senator Schwank and our mayor here in Reading for coming out and supporting this, and everybody here for supporting this effort. I want to talk just a little bit about my background and then also our technical advisory committee, what that work was about, and really planting the seed for what we all do coming out of today. And I'm not going to go down the political route in my comments here, but I think this element of this plan and having some direction, and it's an ambitious plan, as Gretchen and I talked last night about some of the key points that I wanted to come across. We did reference the ambitious element of this plan. So we've raised the bar pretty high on this. And I think this effort started in 2018. I think, Diane, you reached out to me in late 2018. So we're really almost going on 2 years that this plan has been in development. As Secretary Dunn referenced, that this plan, as you will read and some of you have read already, was developed pre-COVID. And I say that because as you read the plan, I think you'll see the connection between what we need right now and what that plan is about. And so let me just touch on briefly, as my background, as Diane had mentioned. I am now the lead coach, as I have been since 2008, the founder of the Mid-Atlantic Youth Anglers and Outdoors Partners. Started that in 2008 in Philadelphia, actually. The first 2 years our name was the Philly Youth Anglers and Outdoors Program. And then very quickly we moved to a Mid-Atlantic footprint, a 5-state footprint. Pennsylvania has remained our headquarters. Last year, in our 11th year, we surpassed 12,000 students that we've introduced and trained to fishing, hunting, heritage as we define it, and conservation. Last June, I brought that work into the Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County, based down in the mushroom capital in Avondale. And in that work that I do now, in addition to overseeing our fishing, hunting, heritage, and conservation training, we own and manage 5 preserves there. And I think, as most of the staff of DCNR, and I think even our elected officials have seen, we have had unprecedented numbers of people into our outdoor environments. And to the point where it's actually stretched and I think maxed out. Most of my peers and colleagues, Berks Nature, who I think many of you know here in Reading, has experienced the same thing. All of us across the state, whether or not it's our state parks or our preserves that our conservancies and land trusts manage, and it's a good thing. I've shared with a number of my colleagues, we be careful what we wish for. The work that we all do, we're now seeing more people than we've ever seen. So the cost of being able to keep this up, I think as we see this new normal, I do believe we're going to see a new normal of more people into our outdoor environments. One of the things that I saw early in March, and Doctor, I think there's very much of a connection between the things that you were saying and the work that we're all doing. And early in March, as COVID started to become the reality that unfortunately it has become, I had a sense that we were going to see a different impact. None of us knew the impact of those that have lost their lives and those that have been touched by this, just disastrous experience that we've had. But what I saw was the potential of the mental health impact down the line. And so I asked our local paper in Chester County, the Chester County Press, if they would write an article on the connection between nature and the outdoors and health. And so that end of March, that article came out and gave some additional momentum to really elevate what I think, beyond the vaccine that we're all projecting to be the source of us getting out of this, is our outdoor resources. Where we are here. And I thought about this last night. As I said to Leslie, I speak quite a bit, but I hate to talk to a script. I like to talk from where I feel, what my stomach, what my gut is telling me, and then also the people that I'm going to be looking at for the few minutes that I'm able to talk. And what came out of my thoughts is these words, Penn's Woods. As I think we all know, in 1681, when our wonderful state was formed in the way that it was, Pennsylvania, and that name of Penn's Woods, it's never been more important for the work that we're all doing in protecting our outdoor environments and now providing a means for us to get there. And so this group of 40 organizations, and I think as Leslie and I talked, and Diane, you referenced, I think there were more than 40 entities represented. I think we had just about every state agency that contributed to this plan, from Department of Human Services to Department of Agriculture, Department of Education. And as I sat in the rooms, and I took that hour-plus drive from where I am every time these meetings were scheduled, my question, and to the point that the Secretary mentioned about this recreation for all, my question was, are we going to be able to touch in this plan, every single Pennsylvanian in terms of their interest? And what I saw over this 2 years, and somebody who is led an organization that works in an urban area, a rural area, a suburban area, I saw my counterparts and my colleagues come together, and we turned over every single stone, I would call it, of interest in the state of Pennsylvania. And myself as a person of color, and I'm not proud to say that I am the only person of color, as I have been told, that manages a land conservancy or a land trust. I was concerned if we were going to have the interests of all of our Pennsylvanians represented in this room, and by and large it was. I'm really happy to see the work that was done, what we all did for the hours and days and months that we did this. And Diane, I reference you and Gretchen and Lauren, who's not here with us, and the Secretary, as our coaches. I'm a sports person. I've always been a sports person. I can't do the things now that I did several years ago, but it truly was a team. Diane kept us, to task. Sometimes I said, Lord, do I actually work for DCNR? But she kept us to task, as did Lauren, as did Gretchen. And I think it's important because while it may be difficult to align the work that we all do to sports, and I do this in the work that I do, the one common element that is there is that we can lose. We can lose in this work of introducing people to the outdoors. We know what the wins are, but it is going to take all of us. And so I ask every single one of you, I'm hoping that those plans are gone, Diane, by the time we leave here, because the biggest challenge that we're going to have is what do we do with this plan as we move forward. So in handing this off back to Secretary Dunn, I've been able to, for the last several years, see the leadership, Secretary, that not only have you led in Pennsylvania, and my organization now with TLC, the Land Conservancy, our Mid-Atlantic organization has been involved with the Delaware River Watershed Initiative for the last several years, the Choose Clean Water Coalition, which is the sister entity in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And while we do get a lot of challenges here in Pennsylvania regarding our work in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, we are leading. We are leading, absolutely. I think our challenges are a little tougher than some of our neighboring states, but I appreciate the work that you've done coming from a conservation background. My fear is what's going to happen, when our governor's term is up, because if you're not still a part of this movement and elevating this movement, I think we're going to be in trouble. So I'm going to be leaning on you to stay around, and we may have an opening on our TLC staff soon. But I really appreciate the work that you've done in leading this effort with DCNR, and as Diane referenced, and as I think we all know, DCNR led this initiative, but this was a collaboration and a partnership of all of our state agencies that touch the outdoors, those that we might not even think about, like a DHS. So thank you, Secretary Dunn. I think I'm handing back off to her. Unfortunately, having to put that mask back on, so thank you.
Take us off again, yeah? Todd, thank you so much. That was so well said. Thanks for the kind words about my staff. But if any kind comments bestowed on me, let me quickly spread out to the great DCNR staff standing around here. And you nailed it. We said Diane kept us all on point. Diane keeps us all on point. So anything that's timely or well-focused out of my shop is being kept on point by Diane and smart people like her. So thank you for that, and thanks for, again, the kind words about the agency. And just before I make the announcement I'm about to make, I just want to say, why is it that in 80 land trusts in Pennsylvania we have one leader of color? And I'm going to introduce a mayor who's the 84th mayor of Reading shortly, and is the first Latino. And why is that? So this horse is out of the barn. We're not going back no matter who's governor. I mean, I think we've reached a different plateau, and things are not going backwards. Too many people are asking the hard questions about equity and justice, and we're not going back no matter who's governor. So we'll keep that thought. And it's funny, Governor Wolf just convened a meeting this morning of his cabinet about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it was a phenomenal meeting. But we're preparing the Commonwealth's employees to really be leaders in DEI going forward. So all those protected state workers that are civil servants that will be around governor after governor are going to be well trained and really understand deeply the societal need and the business need for DEI. The business of public service won't be served well without that. So thank you for those great comments. As always, you always inspire me and get me fired up. So, anyway, I'm here to make a special announcement, and then I'll be turning it over very shortly to the mayor, which everyone's anxious to hear from the mayor. So we decided to use today to announce our community conservation grants with a specific grant here in Reading. DCNR has been able to assist Reading's growing vision for recreation by a grant we gave last year for this site, this community rec site. And because of the city's good work, we were able to announce that last year. And this year, we're announcing a new grant for the Skatepark. And this grant, the mayor matched, the city matched, is $270,000 for the Reading Skatepark. We think about the significance of this. Reading has good bones in terms of recreation. You have a park system that was built, 5 or 6 decades ago, but it's in need of love. It's in need of restoration. It's in need of modernization. 50 years ago, no one was building skate parks, but yet the kids of today want skate parks. The wonderful bones of your park system and your greenways need love and need care. And because of leadership from people like Senator Schwank and others, DCNR has the Keystone Fund. A portion of realty transfer tax goes into the Keystone Fund, which allows DCNR to make grants to communities like Reading for recreation, and the Environmental Stewardship Fund. So because of that, we're able to do this. We're announcing 158 projects today, with a total of $23 million. The fund is there. Really transfer is healthy right now. It's one of the things in the economy that's actually doing okay. And it's there for this purpose since 1993, and we're pleased to make those announcements. And we'll be announcing in the coming weeks some additional grants coming out of the Keystone Fund and Environmental Stewardship Fund. So it's my distinct pleasure now to introduce Mayor Moran. We have a lot of great mayors across Pennsylvania, but Eddie Moran is special to the folks in DCNR who know of him by reputation because he's one of us. He really was a long-time proponent for equity and recreation. He was the vice president of the Reading School Board. He helped found the Reading Recreation Commission, which is, like I pointed out, Daphne's good work has won many awards over the years. It's known statewide. It's been a model for other cities statewide, and he really walks the walk. He understands access. He's been a leader of Special Olympics and Reading American Little League Association. He's also smart enough to hire my good friend Pedro Cortez, because I know he's got a very competent manager standing right behind him, and so that speaks to his ability and his need and his seriousness and making Reading a better place for the people who live here. So with that, my distinct pleasure to introduce Mayor Moran.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for that very warm and kind introduction. Took half of my speech. but disclose half of my speech. But I'm honored, again, to say the least. Before I read a few comments and a statement that I have prepared, unfortunately, I have been giving a disclaimer lately, which I'm going to do once again, that I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy a couple of months ago. And as a consequence, I'm still challenged by my speaking abilities. So please don't make your own assumptions. That I started an early weekend. I'm also challenged by my vision. So in case you see me reading over my comments over and over, is a consequence of that diagnosis. So I just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for joining us as we welcome the Secretary of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Cindy Dunn. DCNR has been a tremendous supporter of the City of Reading through park improvement projects, funding the Reading Recreation Commission, funding the Recreation Master Plan, and so much more. And for that, we are grateful. Providing quality parks and recreation program has always been a priority of mine, as the Secretary stated. And I'm incredibly proud of the Recreation Commission. For those who actually didn't know before the Secretary acknowledged, I was a founding member of the Reading Recreation Commission back in 2012. For those that don't know, I have been engaged in public service back in the early 90s in New York City. And I kind of hung that hat. I was a community liaison officer for a state rep there. I was elected as a state committee man. So I've been engaged in, lack of better words, politics. But when I moved to Reading, I had hung that hat up, and my intention was strictly to become a productive member of my community and become a soccer and baseball dad as a consequence. And own my piece of my American dream, own my home with a white picket fence. That was it. But I started getting engaged, as the Secretary well stated, in Little League Baseball. I was a coach for a challenger team. As many of you know, I am a proud dad of a set of twins. And I had no intentions of getting involved. But when the opportunity came to be a part of the Reading Recreation Commission, I jumped on it. And one thing has led to another. I originally thought that I was just advocating for one thing, and it was a whole lot more. And then I decided, well, I'm doing that, might as well run for school board and advocate for other children besides my own. And several years later, here I am as the mayor of this amazing city that I have come to love. The Reading Recreation Commission staff has done a tremendous job since 2012, especially this year, in providing quality program to our residents. This summer was challenging, as has been stated over and over. But the Reading Recreation Commission and other city agencies remain committed to keeping the kids engaged with activities like Wacky Water Wednesday, DEK hockey, and court tennis. In addition to their fantastic food service program, where they provided over 90,000 meals at last count. So thank you for that. However, today, I am thrilled to speak about both DCNR funded projects. The first project, the All Abilities Playground, which will be installed right here in 3rd and Spruce, where we are now, for children of all abilities to enjoy. That's a dream. That's a dream. I mean, I'm getting emotional. As I said, I started to advocate for children with special needs because, as you know, I am a proud father of an autistic son. So to have that vision come to fruition, where Daphne knows whenever I had a chance, I would mention it. It's, again, very, very fulfilling, and it brings tears to my eyes, to say the least. That, of course, has always been a priority, not only for my own kid, but for all children. as they needed a voice. And now they're gonna have an opportunity to play and drive. We have to be a voice of all our neighbors, even those little neighbors of ours. So again, thank you for that. So again, that dream, that's a dream come true for me. Because even when I decided to run for school board, I did it thinking that I was only gonna advocate on special education. Little did I come to find out that it was a lot more than that. But that's where my passion lies, I kid you not. So whenever I have an opportunity to speak about special needs and access for all, that's, again, in my heart. And so therefore today, this announcement, I cannot say thank you enough. The second project, the Reading Skatepark, it's an example of what happens when a small group of determined individuals work hard to achieve the vision of creating an awesome skate park in the city for kids of all ages. The skateboard park was a grassroots effort led by local businessman J.D. Turner, and who is the holistic skate shop owner. And the skate park will be located on Canal Street near Heritage Park. So thank you to Mr. Turner and his committee for turning this vision into a reality. Again, thank you all for being here today and witnessing the great things that happen when we all work together for the good of the community. Our goal is to make Reading a place where we can all live, learn, and play. I constantly say, let's build a better Reading together. I just caught notice of when I say that, let's build a better Reading together. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to thank our amazing Councilwoman, Marsha Gunniships, for being here and always advocating for the children, who was also on the board with the Reading Recreation Commission. So, yes. So again, Secretary, cannot thank you enough. I know it's against the rules now, so I am giving you a virtual hug that I hope you feel that is coming from the heart. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for announcing and talking about the two projects. What I remember about the mayor is that he is a staunch advocate of handball courts also. So I've never played handball, so I don't know. Are these the handball courts that you got built during your term? So I think he worked hard to get these handball courts over here too. Yes. So I remember that back in 2012, bringing handball courts here to the city of Reading. So
that's what I grew up in New York.
Yes. So great job here. So it's also my pleasure to introduce Senator Schwenk, Senator Judy Schwenk, who is a huge supporter of all things that DCNR stands for, huge supporter of the city of Reading, the Reading Recreation Commission, former Berks County Commissioner that has a phenomenal county park system. So thank you, Senator, for joining us today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really, really honored to be here today. That's what everybody says, right? But let me just switch for a moment, go off script and say, you remember that slogan, "You've got a friend in Pennsylvania"? Remember that? The tourism slogan? We've got a friend in Pennsylvania, and that friend is Secretary Cindy Dunn. Director Pride, you weren't wrong when you talked about her leadership skills. She leads from the heart, and she leads with a sense of how important communities are and the role of recreation in our community. She gets it. She's been coming to Reading and to Berks County for a long time, and I remember those visits very well. Last year, Secretary Dunn, we were at Carsonia Park. Remember that? You've been involved in funding for the 18th Ward, where we're going to create a walkable community. The connector trail between French Creek State Park and the Schuylkill River Trail. These are things that not only are recreational opportunities, but we know them also as economic opportunities as well. These are things that bring people to our communities to, to visit. They spend some money here and they enjoy it and they get a good idea of what our community is all about. So thank you for being our friend. And also, Director Pride, I would say in terms of needing a job, I'm saying maybe her next job should be governor when this governor leaves. I knew she would react that way. In this community, after I heard the mayor speak, and I'm looking at some of the representatives from my colleagues. I know Representative Calda-Jerome has had a big role in this, as well as Representative Rossi, in terms of helping. We work together to help fund and to help make sure that we get the resources that we need here in Berks County, and particularly in the city of Reading, to bring those amenities to quality of life that all of us want. And as we've learned from this new plan, which I can't wait to read, the ways that will make us healthy as well. That connection is so important, and we're finally starting to get it. So the other thing that I would say is how pleased I am, one, about new playground equipment. I have grandchildren, and so I get the opportunity to hunt for playgrounds. And they always want a different one to go to. And some of them are not always in good shape, and you look at the equipment and you think that it's not safe. And furthermore, why would we ever build a playground that every child, no matter what their abilities, can participate in? That should be the norm. So we're going to have that here at 3rd and Spruce, in a community, as you look around, that has lots of housing, new housing going up over on our side there, on my left over there. We're going to have opportunities. We're going to have a place for kids. They've always come to 3rd and Spruce. Daphne will tell you that for sure. But now we're going to give them another reason to do it. And in terms of the skate park, I want to give a special shout out to JD and his committee. JD, I remember the day you came into my conference room. And I didn't know very much about skate parks when I went into that room, but I sure did afterwards, and had a better understanding of how important this would be for recreational opportunities for our youth. And you never gave up. You didn't necessarily walk away with checks from every meeting, did you? But they came, and incrementally, we're finally at the point where we're actually going to be able to build this with contributions from the state and the city. Here's another opportunity for our youth and adults to participate in using a skate park. Thank you so much for your persistence. I really appreciate that. Can we give a round of applause for JD, please? So we'll all grab a copy of the recreational plan, and I'd ask all of you to recommit to making sure that we look at the opportunities that are available to us in our community. When I look at the history of recreation in Reading, you look at Mount Penn or Neversink Mountain, and people went to those areas to escape the city and to have fresh air. Those days have long since changed. And now we're bringing our recreational opportunities back to the heart of where people live, to the center of our cities, to the neighborhoods, so that even if you're an office worker downtown, you would have the opportunity to have recreation on your lunch hour. Or if you're a worker who's living in this neighborhood, after work wants a place just to hang out, you'll have those opportunities. We need to expand upon that. I want to thank my colleagues again in the House of Representatives, and also especially the Wolf administration. I know Governor Wolf is very dedicated to making sure that we have these kinds of opportunities in the Commonwealth. I've got to tell you, funding is an issue. Now I know where the funds came from this, and this is a dedicated funding source. But as we go forward, and you've read all those articles about the budget and how difficult it is going to be for us, because of the economic, problems that we faced as a result of the pandemic, to keep that commitment to our recreational opportunities is really important. And I believe Governor Wolf and his team have that commitment, but we'll have to play our part as well. and I know that we will. This is a community that has its act together, and we're going to make those things happen. Again, thank you to everybody here. Thank you to Councilwoman Hintershitz and to my good friend Daphne and the other folks from the city, the team that helps to make sure that, you know, our streets are clean, that our grass is mowed in our park. This place looks pretty good today, doesn't it? That's thanks to them. Thank you all so much for giving us this great opportunity. What a great way to spend an afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schwenk. Appreciate you joining us here today. From Representative Calderon's office is Raquel Dembaski. So Raquel, come join us for a few remarks. So while she's coming up, there's a fact here in Reading that maybe you didn't know about, but only one out of two, 50% of Pennsylvanians have the ability to walk to a local park within 10 minutes. In Reading, 99% of your residents can walk to a local park within 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing for the city of Reading. Your challenge going forward is to make sure that those parks are worth walking to and that they are safe, clean, and ready to use and look like this beautiful park here today. Come join us.
Good afternoon. Representative Calderon and Representative Vazi send their apologies for not being here today. They asked me to convey their gratitude to DCNR and city officials for your investment and confidence in our city and community. The new playground and skatepark will help to make our community stronger and provide opportunities for kids to grow and thrive. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes our presentation for today, but there's two requests that we have of you. One is there's a plan over there. This is the new outdoor recreation plan we don't want to go home with any, and we're finding ourselves having to mail them to people because we don't have events to see you all, so please take the plan. And second, I want to challenge everybody to think about one way that you can help implement the plan. And there's a couple other folks that we need to recognize, and one is Lauren Possinger. So Lauren, he is the regional representative from our Eastern Regional Office, and he's the first point of contact for grant requests here in the city of Reading. So those of you know that you've worked with him for a very long time. So thank you all for coming, and please also see the playground design that's here of what this playground will look like in years to come. Thank you.